And like I said, those cannot be changed. Just like we were talking about sound beams last chapter. The only thing that changes those, the focal depth and the beam divergence would be, what's that, guys? What changes the focal depth and the beam divergence? Transducer diameter, and what else? And frequency. And frequency. Transducer diameter and frequency. That's the only thing that can change on the fixed focus technique. Okay. Alright? External focusing, also known as the lens focusing, guys. An acoustic lens is placed in front of the piezoelectric material. Focusing sound with this acoustic lens is similar to light waves with the acoustic lens, such as eyeglasses. Okay? Like I said, relate external focusing to eyeglasses. I misspoke earlier. I said it was attached to the masking layer, but it's attached right in front of the PZT. Okay. All right. Of course, again, external focusing and internal focusing are both fixed focusing techniques. What is the other terms for fixed focusing techniques? Mechanical, conventional, and fixed. Okay. So, as the arc of the lens becomes more prominent, the degree of focusing increases and the beam narrows in the focal zone. So, what they're saying is, remember, they're already telling you that it's a lens, right? It's a concave lens. So, we're done with this. So what happens is, the arc of it, depending, is going to change the focus. So if the arc is like this, versus like this, the second arc is going to have a more prominent degree of focus. So I'm going to exaggerate my point right here, guys. But this arc is more prominent, it has a steeper arc to it, right? So my focus is going to be able to be focused a lot more. My focus is going to be a lot thinner. The beam is going to be a lot thinner at the focus because of the arc of the acoustic lens. Okay? That also applies to the PZT as well, the curved PZT. Okay? The degree of the arc, whatever arc this is, how much it is arced. And y'all understand what I mean? As far as like, if I have an arc like this, that's not going to be a really thin focus. The beam is not going to be that thin at the focus. But if I arch it like this, then I'm going to have a really thin focus, a really thin beam at the focus. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Good thing, guys?
Is that like the diameter too?
Yeah.
Like you have
I wouldn't say the diameter, because the diameter would be this part.
Okay, of course.
This part right here. The arc, it'll be in profile, right? Let me see. Like, think of like a contact lens, right? A contact lens is, the shape of your eyeball, but you see how the contact lens still has a front to it that you can see that is round, right? But when you turn it to the side, it's arched in the shape of your eyeball, right? So the shape of this arch right here, is going to be a lot more focused than this arch right here, okay? But it still has a round diameter as far as the shape of that contact lens. Good. Good. Myra?
So more arch,
Okay.
more
arch, better focusing.
better focus.
More arch, better focusing.
Because
The degree
it
of
creates
focusing.
more narrow
Absolutely.
than the other lens.
More high, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so with an acoustic lens, here's our, what's this, guys? The yellow? A dancing or backing element, okay? Green, PZT. Red, that's our acoustic lens right there. You see the arch on it right there? The degree of the arch is going to change the degree of focusing, okay? And the blue will be what? Matching. Man, you guys are so sweet. You guys are good, man. You guys are good, okay? So if this arch, again, I wish I could draw on these walls. I can't. This arch is kind of steep, right? So if this arch was like this, I don't know if you guys can see that. Like I said, I can't draw on these walls. But that arch would be less of a degree. And that focus would be not as thin as the arch that's currently displayed right here. Okay. We're good there, guys? I want to make sure we're clear on that. All right. So, again, an acoustic lens right here, guys. PZT element right there, and acoustic lens placed right in front of it. So just look at this arch right there and this arch. Which one of these is gonna have the more prominent focusing?
The second one.
No,
No,
Two or
previous.
one?
One.
One is gonna have a much thinner beam at the focus, right? Because the arch is more prominent there than it is right here.
لحظة الحين طلعتوا حاضروا ايش تعطيها حاضروا الشاشة عندك فلافل سندوتش فلافل
Alright, so that's focusing with an acoustic lens. What kind of focusing is this, guys? External focusing. External focusing, like putting on a pair of glasses, right? External focusing is outside. Okay? Ooh. Any questions on external focusing? We're good on our degree of arc as far as the arc of the acoustic lens. Yes? Yes, we did. Okay. Internal focusing, guys. That's a curved PZT element. So again, that would be like me describing our contact lens again. Our contact lens being the actual element, it still has a round diameter because it's a single element transducer, right? We've been talking about round elements since we've been talking about ultrasound up to this point. Chapter 12 is where we start talking more about our phased array transducer or multiple element transducers. Okay. Internal focusing occurs with a curved PZT. It concentrates the sound energy into a narrower, tighter beam, which is of course going to improve our lateral resolution. Okay. As the curvature of the PZT becomes more pronounced, the degree of focusing increases. Okay. Same thing, just like the acoustic lens, the same concept. Okay. If that was a curved PZT element right there, the bottom one would have a more prominent focusing. Okay. The focusing is going to increase. It's going to have a thinner beam. All right. Internal focus is the most common form of fixed focusing. It's highlighted for a reason, guys. Internal focusing is the most common form of fixed focusing. Okay. There is no lens with fixed focusing, of course. That's external focusing. Okay. Good there. All right. So there's our damping element again, right there. Here, right here, we have our curved PZT, our active element right there. Very prominent arc right there. High degree of focusing, and the blue represents our matching layer. Okay. Our impedance matching layer. Okay. Do y'all have these images on the PowerPoint? I know I kind of mashed them up because I didn't want to I'm trying to take up less space to send it to
You
you
don't
guys.
have this one now.
Not this image?
Not this one.
Okay. Not this, yeah, not this one. Not this one. I added this one just the other day. Okay. So here's our curved PZT, also known as internal focusing. Right here is our curved PZT element, and here's our matching impedance layer right there. All right. Okay. Any questions on our fixed focusing, our mechanical focusing, our conventional focusing techniques? Any questions?
So the internal has a better focus than the external because like it's curved and then the arc.
Both of them are actually curved. The curved element is just the most common form. They both do the same thing. They both do the same thing. Any other questions, guys? Okay. So let's talk about electronic focusing, phased array focusing, which is what we all known to use. We all use this every day. Yes, ma'am.
And so electronic focus, number 3.
Yeah, number 3. You see? Yes. Electronic focusing, also phased array focusing. Absolutely. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So for the difference here, they insert the lens here, but here they just
They just curve the active element. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the difference. That's the exact difference. So with the acoustic lens, it's an extra piece inside of the transducer. With internal focusing, they're just curving the active element. They're changing the shape of it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So electronic focusing, guys, the system electronics focus the sound beam. Okay. With phased array, the user can adjust the focusing characteristics of the beam. You guys do this all the time. You guys do it every day. When I'm looking at your image, I'm like, oh, you didn't adjust that focus. Okay. You guys also change the focal zone. When you push your focus down and you twist that knob, you can actually change the size of your focal zone. Okay. May only be used with multiple element transducers. Okay. Because what happens is, like I said, with a single element, it's only one electronic signal being sent to that PZT element. Okay. When you have multiple elements, each element has its own electrical signal attached to it. Each element has its own wire or channel attached to it. Each element has a channel, right? So what happens is, to focus that beam that way, they're going the elements on the outside of the transducer, they're going to get the electrical signals first, and the elements on the inside of the transducer are going to get them later on, which is going to create an arch just like the internal and external focusing, and that's going to focus the beam. Okay, and I'll show you on the image right now. Okay, phased array technology is more versatile than fixed focus. Of course, it's more versatile because we're able to adjust it. When it's fixed, we just have to change our transducer in order to get a deeper structure, get a better image. Okay. Here it is right here, guys. So every little square right here, every little rectangle, these are all different active elements. Okay. Each one has its own channel right here. This is the wire right here. Each one has its own wire attached to it. So when electric signal comes from the ultrasound system itself, you see how it creates this curve? Looks similar to our external internal focusing, right? Okay. So what happens is, like I said, these outside PZT elements, they're going to be struck with the electrical signal first. Okay, and it's going to decrease as it gets towards the center, which that curve is going to create us having a focus right here. It's going to make our beam focus. That's exactly what you're doing. So when you're changing, you're changing the depth of your focus. Okay, so right here, you see that this focus is deeper than this focus, right? This focus is deeper than this focus. Okay, so when I say bring your focus down, you're changing the electrical signals being sent to the PZT elements. Okay, so this you see now they're being it's still an arch. The outside is always to focus the beam electronically. The outside elements are always going to be sent with the electrical signal first. Okay, so it's just the distance from where the element is being struck. That's what's going to change whether it's shallow focus or a deep focus. Okay, so if the element is struck, if it's struck close to the transducer or close to the active elements, the electric signal, then it's going to create a deeper focus. Okay, if they're struck far away from the active elements themselves, it's going to create a shallower focus. Okay, same thing. Like the amount of curvature of that sound beam is going to change the amount, the beam thickness or the width of that beam. Okay.
Width or depth?
Thickness. I'm sorry. The width. I'm sorry. I meant width of that beam, not thickness, because thickness is another resolution, slight thickness. I meant the width of that beam. So this right here would be changing the width of the beam. It's going to be wider. Remember I said slice thickness is just the opposite of lateral resolution, where it's going to be above and below the ultrasound transducer. So this is my transducer right here, guys. Let me get something bigger. It's my transducer right here, guys. The width of my beam would be this, right? Would be this. And you guys see it in profile, so you guys are going to see it like this. But the width of the beam would be this. The wideness of that beam. Okay, that would be our lateral resolution. Our slice thickness resolution is just the opposite, which is the above and below the actual transducer itself. So if I'm sending signals out like this, I get those off-axis sound beams above and below. That's called slice thickness resolution. Okay, width of the beam, that's associated with lateral resolution. We'll talk about slice thickness, I believe chapter 13, post-echo instrumentation. Okay. Any questions on electronic focusing? Electronic focusing questions? None? Okay. So what happens when the beam is focused, guys? These are our concepts. Okay? 4 things happen when the beam is focused. Focusing in general, not electronic focusing, not external focus. I'm talking about just focusing, just plain focus. Okay, 4 things occur. The beam diameter in the near field and focal zone is reduced. Okay. The beam diameter in the near field and focal zone is reduced. Okay. The focus, number 2, the focus is moved closer to the transducer. Okay. The focal depth is going to be shallower than an unfocused beam. Okay. Than an unfocused beam. The beam diameter beyond the focal zone widens. Of course, that's divergence, right? The beam diameter beyond the focal zone widens. Okay. Therefore, focus improves lateral resolution in the near and focal zone and degrades lateral resolution beyond the focal zone. Of course, with beam divergence, we're gonna, of course, our lateral resolution is gonna get horrible as the beam travels further and deeper. Okay. And the focal zone is also smaller when the beam is focused. That's the whole point of it. We're trying to get a narrow beam. Okay. So just everything I have highlighted here, guys, that's also on table 10-4. Okay. Just take those. I don't like memory, but take those to memory. Know that that's what happens when the beam is being focused. Okay. So here it is, right here, guys. We can talk about them all. So right here, number 1, beam diameter in the near field and focal zone is reduced. See, this is what we were talking about last chapter, our unfocused beam. Okay. This is a focused beam right here, where our beam diameter in the near zone. Remember last chapter we learned just with sound beams, unfocused sound beams, that the beam, the size of the beam is the same size as the beam diameter coming out of the transducer, right? Okay. With a focused beam, you see it's a lot smaller. Okay. These are 4 rules of focusing. Beam diameter near field and focal zone is reduced or smaller than when compared to an unfocused beam. Okay. Number 2, our focal depth is also shallower. See, our focus is about right here on this one, right? Beam diameter. Our focus is right here on this one. So now our focus is a lot shallower when we focus our beam. Okay. Our focal depth. Meaning it's closer to the transducer, shallower. The distance from the transducer to the focus is a lot shorter.
So the first one it is.
With a focus beam, yes ma'am. Okay. Also, our beam diameter in the far zone increasing. Look at that divergence of this beam compared to this beam. Okay. We have a focused beam. The beam diverges in the far field a lot more, okay, than the unfocused beam. Okay. And also, our focal zone is a lot smaller. Okay. Look at our focal zone right here. So where the beam is relatively narrow, right? I'll say our focal zone is about right there, compared to us having a much wider focal zone down here. Okay, those are 4 modifications, or 4 characteristics of focused beams versus unfocused beams. Y'all have this image too? Y'all have this image?
Yes.
Nope.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It's in the book.
Yeah, it's in the book.
It's not in the PowerPoint.
It's in the PowerPoint too.
Okay.
It is.
All right. So a quick summary right here, guys. And we're going back a couple of chapters with this. Okay. So these are beam features or characteristics. Okay. So with frequency or continuous wave, we know that our frequency is going to be equal to the electrical signal coming from the ultrasound system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about, remember we talked about this chapter.